How's it going? And welcome to the first recorded podcast of 2021, the Casual Gamecast, a weekly video game podcast for the everyday gamer, brought to you by the team at Casual Game Critic. I am Phil Keogh, and with me as always is my beautiful co-host Shane Bowe. Shane, how are you, man?
Hello, I'm good, and yourself?
I'm good. If you are new here, welcome. You have stumbled across what is most likely the most casual cast on the internet pertaining to video games specifically, a casual game cast, if you will. On today's show, we have an awful lot to cover. We have a new Nintendo first party has been acquired, rumours about further additions to the sea that is Game Pass, PS4s are being discontinued, and probably most importantly, a new challenger has entered the fray in the console wars. More on that in a moment. All of that then will be followed by our question of the week. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to tone myself down for a second because I'm very high tempo and ask Shane, how the devil are you?
I'm good. Would you like me to be the opposite and just be really somber and quiet and calm in the sea of madness that we can just be relaxing and chill? I know, I'm good. I'm really good. I had a nice Christmas. Did you have a nice Christmas?
I did. Yeah, I did. It was actually quite relaxing. I can bring myself down now. I'm not on I'm not on show announcer mode anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, I was actually really good. It was quiet. I literally had to spend time with just my immediate family. There is some high risk cases in my secondary members of family, let's say. So there's a lot of invisible walls between a lot of us at the moment, so we had no choice but to adhere to the strict guidelines, which I was happy enough to do. But it was nice in that way because I have a huge family. I've got 100 cousins in the local area. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And Christmas can be a bit overwhelming because you're always going somewhere. But no, all in all was good. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have 100 million cousins as well. You know, obviously I don't visit them all every Christmas. But we used to have a Christmas morning tradition that one of my aunts would host a lot of people in her house Christmas morning for just for a chat and some, salmon and brown bread or whatever and that kind of thing. But we couldn't do that this year, obviously. So that was one of the kind of things that I've been going to that aunt's house since I was a very small child.
Yeah.
Every Christmas morning. But it did turn out, Christmas break turned out very well for me. I now have my player 2 for life. I now have a fiance.
What? You didn't tell me this in the pre-show. Hey, congratulations.
No, I purposely didn't tell you this because I thought did you not see this? I posted this all over. This is posted all over Facebook, all over.
Oh my god, no, I don't know. Maybe I just missed it down a Facebook poll or something.
we
wow, congratulations.
We made the whole status update thing where we're now engaged or whatever.
Jeez, no, I completely missed it. Sorry if you thought I was blanking you.
No, I didn't at all. Actually, the longer it went on, the more I was kind of hoping you'd missed it, so I could just tell you here, and get a genuine reaction.
Wow. Okay, let's pause this now. This podcast for a few minutes because this has become episode 20. Shane got engaged.
Yes.
How did it go down? Give us the story.
So I had planned, it happened on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
Because we met on New Year's Eve 6 years ago.
You romantic devil, you.
Oh, I'm such a romantic devil. We actually met on Halloween for the first time, technically, but we met sober for the first time on New Year's. That's the important part. That's when we first kind of properly spoke to each other. I had planned dinner out and all this kind of carry on, and then obviously COVID put a hamper into that.
Yeah.
And I had always planned to propose at home because we're both kind of like that. We're not big on the whole big do it in public in front of 1 million people in a pub or a restaurant or it's not our style. So then instead we got a nice takeaway, some Indian, and I even kind of convinced her that it should be let's, even though we couldn't go out, let's still make it a proper date night and not just sit in our pajamas and stuff, you know what I mean? And we sat at the kitchen table and we had proper wine and we ate off of plates rather than off our laps and this kind of thing, like you would normally do with a takeaway.
Yeah.
Of course. So I kind of convinced her to do that as well. And then once dinner was over, I was talking about how crap 2020 has been for everybody. And then I dropped to one knee and I told her, look, there's one way we could make 2020 a hell of a lot better. One better way to end it and a better way to start what was inevitably going to be a crap 2021, and then presented Le Ring.
Wow. Just that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's the best news I've heard all year.
Yeah. So that's it. Now I have a fiance, which is really weird when you say it. I'm still not used to it.
I gotta ask all the horrible questions now. Have you set dates? Have you an idea?
Oh yeah, well, we're thinking about that kind of stuff. We're still in planning phases. I don't want to publicly announce anything on a podcast just yet.
Give us a location, give us a date, give us a time.
But we're planning stuff. We're talking about wedding sizes and where we'd like to have it and when we'd like to have it and all that kind of thing.
Amazing.
But it won't be for a while yet. I'm 2-3 years down the line. It's not we're not in any rush. We don't want to get married in 6 months' time or anything like that. We've been together 6 years. We've been together 6 years. We can wait another 2 years. You know what I mean? It's nothing crazy that way.
There's not like a 9 months time limit on this bad boy.
No. It's not like that. No. It's not. This is not a shotgun marriage, as it were.
No, fair play. I'm super happy for the two of you.
But yeah, there's my Christmas news. That kind of trumps all my how was my Christmas and everything. That's my jam right there now.
Yeah. This Christmas will be the Christmas where I think about COVID. And I think about, having a kind of a nice but weird Christmas. And you're going to think of the day that you got engaged. So, probably one of the biggest days of your life.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, look,
well,
I wouldn't have done it if I didn't mean it.
Well, then in that case, you obviously had a very busy Christmas, New Year's, or whatever. You were probably planning. Let me ask you about that. How long were you planning that? Was that I
haven't planned it for.
Was that a spur of the moment or?
No, I was planning it for a while actually, and I had a ring ordered. I was kind of paying for it because rings are expensive, so I was paying for it. I was paying for it over time. I was dropping in every couple of weeks after getting paid, or once a month, and paying off the ring and stuff. The plan was always New Year's. It wasn't once the ring is paid off, I'll do it. It was New Year's was always the plan, regardless of when I had the ring or if anything else came up. The plan was always New Year's because that's when we met. Yeah. So I'm an awful softy like that, yourself.
You are, in fairness.
So I was planning for a while, a good few months. The fact that Katie works right next door to the jewelers where I was trying to go in, and someday she'd be at work and I'm trying to sneak past the place where she works to go into the jewelers to give them some money and stuff.
It's like a game of Metal Gear Solid trying to get in to pay your ring.
Yeah, exactly. But she had no idea. She was really knocked for six. It really surprised her. I even threw her off the scent. She was joking that she'd be happy enough if I ever even gave her some a jelly ring, from Penny Sweets. So for Christmas, as part of one of her Christmas presents, I got her a bag of jelly rings. And she thought nothing of it. She was like, "Oh, that's a funny little joke," because I mentioned about getting married and stuff. And I was like, "Yeah." All the time I was planning to propose anyway.
Fair play to you. That's I would be terrible at keeping that under wraps. If I was sitting on that, Lorna would know.
It was hard. It was hard. I talked about this with some friends because I told nobody. I had nobody involved. I had nobody helping me. It was just me. Her parents didn't know.
Really?
My parents didn't know. My friends didn't know. Nobody knew.
What? You didn't even go to the dad?
No, I wanted it to be a surprise for everyone. I wanted it to be a surprise for everybody. I wanted her parents to be surprised. Mine, my friends. There was times where I was sitting down, having a pint with one of the lads or whatever. I'm like, oh, I really should just fucking tell him, and then someone else knows, and I can have someone to talk to about this, But no, I persevered and kept it to myself, and then it was worth it in the end because the surprises on everyone, telling everyone, the surprise was worth it.
Yeah, I know, big time. Yeah. And if you told one person, before you know it, 3 people know. Before you know it, exactly. A whole town knows. Yeah. It's
you tell your mate, he tells his missus, she tells someone else.
Yeah, and we come from a small town. News gets around,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But wow, yeah, okay. The rest of this podcast seems kind of meaningless now. It's
it's back to business.
Our baby boy Shane has done something huge.
Yes. No, we're back to business as usual. We're back here to deliver you the gaming news of the week and whatnot. But
yeah, we certainly are. And actually, it kind of it seems, maybe it's just me, but are you feeling any kind of like sense of existentialism after coming into 2021? Because I'll explain what I mean. In 2020, we kind of expected that the clock would hit 12 on December 31st, and then this nightmare would be over. And I know none of us really expected that, but we were kind of hoping. And it just seems like 21 is already starting off to be a pretty bad year in terms of the world news and stuff.
Yeah.
It's so depressing to see, the world is just losing its mind. America in particular, let's be honest. But God Almighty, it's sometimes it's kind of hard to work yourself up to be excited about things that are so ancillary. When you're looking at the world throwing itself into a haymaker.
Yes, exactly. And I wanted some good news from 2020. 2020 was a miserable year.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't miserable to the point where I was sitting at home in a pits of depression or anything, but it just wasn't a nice year for anybody.
Yeah.
Plans had to be cancelled. You couldn't just go and talk to a friend when as easily as you could, stuff like that. So I wanted some good news, and I wanted to, like you said, the existential crisis that people were having, sitting at home and being stuck inside. Like, I mean, this time a year ago, people were like, "Oh, there's some kind of virus affecting China, but they seem to have it contained or whatever. It seems okay." And now, like, well, in Ireland anyway, we're hitting like record numbers of COVID cases and stuff. Like exactly a year later, we are where China was,
Yeah. And we've been wrestling with it for quite some time. But
yeah,
I jumped onto this podcast thinking I'm going to put a brave face on, and we're just going to forget about it, and we're just going to get through the episode, and we're going to give people something nice to listen to. But Shane, you have brought something very positive into our lives. So thank you, sir. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful moment of 2020. It was uplifting. Anyway, will we just get into the news?
Let's do it.
All right, let's pull that band-aid off. Go, baby. Play the thing.
News.
With that, the news. So, it does seem as if 2021 is going to be the marker of another first, which is Nintendo spreading out their wings and, for like the first time in years, acquiring a new first-party studio. One that is very familiar to them, though.
Yes, Next Level Games, who brought us Luigi's Mansion 3, and I think they're behind the Super Mario Striker Stars. Is that the title of the game?
I believe so.
That kind of football Mario game. Basically, they've made Nintendo games. They've taken like Nintendo's biggest names and made games out of them already, but they were a third-party studio, and now they're not. Yeah,
like they made some questionable ones as well. They made that really bad Metroid Prime 3DS multiplayer game that everybody industry-wide hated. They made Strikers, which is a really fun game in certain circles, but never hit the levels of a Mario Kart or even a Mario Party, And then they come out the game swinging with Luigi's Mansion 3. And that was heralded as one of the best Nintendo exclusives that year. And I think that must have been just the case where Nintendo finally went, yeah, we should probably own these guys.
Yeah.
Wow, fair play. The boys done good.
Yeah, basically they got they're gonna work on loads of probably great Nintendo franchise now, or get a better opportunity to kind of pick and choose what they want to work on, which is great for them. It's great to be, if you work at that studio, you're probably like, this is amazing. I get to work for Nintendo, be paid by Nintendo to work on Nintendo stuff.
Yep. And I'm excited to see, do they get other franchises, or will they just be like the Luigi Mansion guy? Because they took the Switch and they wrang every last drop of graphical power out of it for Luigi's Mansion. I've not played it personally, but I've watched a lot of it, and it's really beautiful. Like it's really pushing that hardware. And those guys, give them an offshoot Mario game, give them an offshoot, I don't know, Zelda game.
Yeah.
What can they do with that? That'd be cool to see.
Yeah, just let them loose. Give them a franchise and let them loose and give them a non-numbered sequel or something,
Big time.
And just let them go to town. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting. It's one to keep an eye on. Whenever we get an announcement by what Next Level is making next, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, what will be their next level, so to speak.
Oh God.
But Speaking of letting them loose, people were in the habit recently of letting their children loose and maybe their significant others and themselves, in the case of Pokemon Go, around the world to play AR video games. And it seems as if 2021 will be the death knell for one of these.
Yes, it's a sad time. Minecraft Earth is shutting down.
That is sad. I don't know anybody that played it, but I remember looking at their announcement videos thinking, that looks really cool.
Yes. Yeah, it was a cool idea. AR games are a cool idea, and I'm sure from maybe a development standpoint, they're probably relatively cheap to implement, and then you get your money from microtransactions and whatnot. But like, they're citing COVID. They're saying everyone's locked at home, they're quarantining, they can't go out and play and run around the streets. Now, you made a good point in the pre-show that like, it's not stopping Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go is not going anywhere.
No, it's not.
You know?
In fact, Pokemon Go is going from strength to strength.
Yes.
And I think that is the problem.
Yes, that's yeah. I think it's more so that nobody's playing the game, and now they can quietly say, "Oh, COVID is closing us down. We're going to have to, cut our losses and move along." And it's all COVID's fault, and not the fact that nobody's playing their game. It's definitely COVID.
It's an easy excuse.
Yeah, basically. But there you go.
I think that I don't want to be insensitive when I say that, though. Like, I think that obviously the teams are under pressure to work with COVID, like every other team working from home. I get that.
Yes.
And I'm sure it has hurt. It hurts everyone. But when you're talking about a game that augments your outside world, like, we're all encouraged to go for walks and stuff more than ever. Like, I've never gone on so many walks as since COVID came in.
Yes.
So technically I'm the prime market for an AR game to make its way into my life. But I think what the issue is you've seen it with the Harry Potter AR game, where that came out and it just, like a wet fart. Like, it's nobody knew it was coming. Sorry, no, I am wrong in saying that. Everyone knew it was coming. It came to no fanfare. I didn't see a single advertisement about it. And it was never on my mind. So if I then wanted to play a game outside while going for a walk, I go to Pokemon. You know? I don't play games while I go for walks, but if I did, I would go for Pokemon because it's on my mind. And that's okay. I understand that one not working out so well because the same people actually make Pokemon Niantic. So it's if one fails, whatever, they still got the other one. Minecraft is really disappointing to me, I think, because that's Microsoft. They have Buko books.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever seen a single advertisement about Minecraft World or whatever it's called?
No, I've never seen. Until I seen that news story, I was like, oh, yeah, Minecraft Earth is a thing that exists.
Yeah, and it's super cool. Like, it's augments the world around you to be into Minecraft. It's not just... Because when you think about Pokemon Go, great idea, but the implementation's pretty silly. It's just, well, there's a Clefairy on my desk. I'll throw this thing at it. Cool.
Yeah.
But like, Minecraft was pretty cool in the sense that you could like represent your garden and tap the grass on your phone through your camera, and the block would disintegrate and you would see lava underneath it. Like, there was some really cool stuff happening there. And a lot of tech obviously went into that, Why would you not have enough faith to market it?
I think their own hubris was probably their downfall. I think people just would rather play regular Minecraft. Even kids that even, I know, like nowadays, younger kids have like tablets and phones and stuff like that. I think they'd just rather play regular Minecraft.
Well, yeah, but people still rather play regular Pokemon. But, it has something and it marketed it at the right time. And I think that Minecraft Earth could have been whatever it's called. I keep forgetting. That's how little it got marketed. Yes. I think it had a great opportunity for people to go out into their garden and play with it. And it just didn't grab it. Pity. But look, we're not going to be stuck for Microsoft news, as we'll get to later on. But... speaking of Microsoft, it seems as if they're ever expanding sea, as I mentioned earlier, because it really does seem like a sea. Have you checked in on the amount of games available on Game Pass recently? I hooked up my old Xbox. I took out the Xbox One S out of the bedroom. I put in the Xbox One X, which has now been replaced with the Series X. There's a weird grandfathering of Xboxes going on in my apartment right now. But I went in and I said, okay, I have a projector on the ceiling, which I used very much this week because I'm not a back week. We won't get into that. But I downloaded a load of games onto it, and I was just like flicking through Game Pass, and it's mind-boggling the amount of stuff that's on there. It's hundreds of games, you know?
Yeah.
But it seems as if we might be getting more. Shane, do you want to tell us something about it?
Yeah, so there's rumors. Now I want to emphasize the word rumor. This is not confirmed. That
Confirmed.
the Ubisoft Plus subscription model, that's basically Ubisoft's version of Game Pass. You can subscribe to it, you pay whatever amount, get access to all Ubisoft games.
Mm-hmm.
There's rumors that might be much like EA Play. They might become part of Game Pass.
Yes. So people are saying. So the scuttlebutt on the internet would have you believe.
Yes. Now, like I said, it's very much a rumor, and the rumors were semi-squashed by someone whose name escapes me. I'm very sorry, listeners, if you really need the hard-hitting journalistic investigations.
That's why they come here.
Yes, that's exactly why they come here. But someone kind of squashed the rumors a little bit. Someone it was either Microsoft or Ubisoft, and said, look, the Ubisoft Plus is probably not going to directly come to Game Pass, but they could have some kind of deal with vaulting the games on Game Pass, which for anyone who's not sure, vaulting is like you release the game and after a year or two on the market, Game Pass gets the exclusive deal to host the game.
Yeah.
And that's where it sits. And if you want to play the game, you either go buy the physical copy that's still on the shelf, or you go to Game Pass, or you download it from the digital store or whatever.
Exactly.
But the game still gets a year or two on the market first to make sales before it jumps onto Game Pass.
Exactly. And EA Play or EA Access, before that got added to Game Pass, and even now, they do a similar setup where their newest and greatest games don't go exactly onto that platform. After about a year or two, they do get grandfathered into it. But
yes.
EA goes the extra step further, which I doubt I'll ever see Ubisoft doing, because I don't think I'd ever buy a Ubisoft game again, is they give you 10 hours free on EA games.
Right.
So the new FIFA goes day and date into Game Pass now with a 10-hour window, essentially.
Yes.
And then it's up to you to buy it after the 10 hours if you want to. But that's all well and good for games that are live services like that. If I could get 10 hours of Assassin's Creed, I probably would be happy enough to go, right, I don't have, and I'm still playing through Valhalla, by the way. I'm like 90 hours into the guy, and I'm not even close to the end.
Have you developed kind of Stockholm syndrome with that game?
I have. Yeah, we'll get to it later when I tell you what I've been playing, but I've gone through some emotional roller coasters with that game. It just from my own self of why am I doing this? But if I could get 10 hours of the feel of Valhalla and compare it against the 10 hours of the feel of the Greek one versus the feel of the Egyptian one, I'd probably have enough to talk about here, you know?
Of course.
But yeah, rumors are going to be rumors, and we don't know if it's going to be true. I think Ubisoft would want a buttload of money for it. I'm surprised they got EA, because I think maybe EA service was failing and Microsoft turned up at the right time. But the Ubisoft service is new, and I don't know how it's been doing.
Yeah.
So Ubisoft are traditionally quite greedy as well. So I don't know what kind of deal has to be made there. And if they do have to make that deal, what worries me is we are at a point with Game Pass where there's like hundreds of games on it, like I said. And for my premium membership, it's like 15 quid a month or something. It's really reasonable. What's going to be the breaking point? You know, like that's the same price as it was a year ago before all these other services came in.
Exactly. Like your Netflix is going up every month now, or every 6 months I hear about a Netflix hike or an Amazon Prime hike, or you know, this kind of thing. So like, or do we get to the point where, you know, if you want 4K Netflix, it costs more a month than regular HD Netflix? So do we get to a point where Game Pass like, okay, well, do you want to play this in 4K and 120 frames? Well, that's 20 quid a month instead of 15 quid a month.
Yeah, well, what I would like to see, if I'm honest, is I would like to see a moduled approach where it was, here's your Game Pass, and this is just vanilla Game Pass, like you know it. And then for an extra €2 a month, you get EA access. For an extra €2 a month, you get Ubisoft access. Whatever way they need to partition that. As long as it's not like, well, we offer you 5,000 games, you can only ever play one at any given time, of course. And if you are somebody who enjoys video games from start to finish, you're playing one game a month, really. Like, how much are you willing to pay for access to those 5,000 games? Like, I don't know. It becomes an interesting argument, you know? And I don't like. We are definitely going to see a Game Pass hike pretty soon.
Yes.
Regardless, we were always going to see one because this was to get you in the gate price, the same as Netflix and everybody else. You've got to make it enticing. You got to get people to think they can't live without the service. Then you increment every year or every quarter.
Yeah.
But this could really hike it.
Yes, this like adding all these services, and if they keep going down this route, like what if they start going to other big studios as well, and start going like, well, we can offer you this amount of money if you want to like add us to the Game Pass service, and I don't know, we'll see what happens, but like Microsoft are really like loading up the Fort Knox trucks of gold and wheeling them out to developers at the moment. They're like, we want games, we want studios, we want you to be on Xbox. Here's all the money in the world.
Yep. And like there's this whole obvious argument around you don't want one corporation pretty much owning everything, and that's kind of what Microsoft is sneakily doing.
Yes.
But look, we digress. But yeah, Ubisoft could make it to the system. I think it could very well come to Game Pass, and that vaulting thing makes a lot of sense. It would be nice to be able to just on a whim play every Assassin's Creed game. I'm sure there's people looking for that, and you probably already own them all through Games with Gold or whatever other service anyway. But yeah, I can see the value. Yeah. Speaking of value, it does seem as if our Lord and Savior Phil Spencer over at Microsoft has been talking to a certain graphics card maker about keeping up the demand for their newest consoles, the Series X and S respectively. Major Nelson and Phil Spencer, in fact, have said that they are essentially poking the bear that is AMD to say, AMD, get the hell up and make some more graphics cards. We don't have any consoles, and it's a real problem right now because we are in 2021 and we still don't have stock. What's going on? I think that whole thing of they won't have stock until April is probably true.
Yeah, that's the thing. So this story is what it is. It's Microsoft poking them with a stick and going, we need more hardware, hurry up, come on, do something.
Yeah, God.
That's all it is. That's exactly what it is. And this is also a kind of a way of Microsoft PR getting out ahead of things and going, oh, we want to give you Xboxes, but it's AMD's fault because they're not keeping up with demand.
Yeah.
So they're kind of passing the buck that way as well. Not to say that AMD isn't partially to blame, because, or not even to blame as such. It's like you can only manufacture so much stuff. You know what I mean? Like your factory can only manufacture so much stuff. And when you probably have partners with different, I'm sure AMD like manufacture medical devices and technology as well, and all this kind of thing. So they can't very well go, yeah, here's all the stuff for your gaming console. We'll just stop everything else and sort you out, Microsoft. No problem.
No, rake AMD over the coals, Shane. We know you have you have a long hatred for AMD. I know. No, completely. Like they've released their own line of new cards, which the Xboxes leverage a kind of a similar chipset of. And yeah, it's high production time for AMD at the moment. And realistically, when Microsoft approached AMD to say, we want to use your hardware in our new console, nobody knew COVID was coming. Nobody knew production lines and, simply getting product from A to B, it was going to be such a challenge. And this is the reality of the world we live in, lads. And this is why similar things happening with Sony. They're just not talking about it. This is why we could have waited another 3 months for consoles.
Yep, this is another thing. But then again, you wait another 3 months, and now even around the world, COVID is still exploding at an enormous rate. Mm-hmm. In 3 months' time, do you sit there and go, we could have waited another 3 months, and another 3 months, and another 3 months?
Well, yeah.
I'd be happy to wait. Don't get me wrong. I'd be happy to wait so everyone could have their new console when they wanted it. But
yeah,
there comes a tipping point where you're waiting. You're constantly pushing it back.
But they must have known to a degree what the stock availability was going to look like for the coming months.
Yeah, of course.
They didn't just launch it in December.
I was just going to say, I'm sure there was many a boardroom meeting where it's like, we can give you this amount of chips until this date, and then we will supply Y amount of chips between this date and this date, and then we will supply Z amount of chips between this date and this date, and that's just our manufacturing speed. That's all we can do.
Yeah. And I don't know. Is it a case that the boardroom went, well, we've got a fiscal year to make up and just get it out there? Or is it a case that the boardroom went, well, Nintendo seem to be really good at this false scarcity thing. How about we use real scarcity to our advantage? And it worked.
I know. But then, yeah, it does work. It does work. And then, like, as big as Microsoft is, at the moment, does Xbox have the same gravitas that Nintendo has to be able to do a false scarcity? Because, like, Nintendo is the place you go for your Mario and your Animal Crossing and your Smash. It has all those things. Over the last generation, Microsoft hasn't had a huge amount except for Game Pass. So the false scarcity thing could backfire on them, and people could be like, "Oh well, yeah, whatever. I don't really care about waiting for an Xbox because they're not playing it anyway. So I'll just go buy this other thing."
Yeah, I think that the Series S in particular has a window here where it can really light the world on fire, and it's missing it day by day. You know, Game Pass.
It's easy getting an S. Getting an S is easy. Like,
really?
In Ireland at the moment, S's are plentiful.
Oh, I didn't realize that. The Series S?
Yeah, the Series S. Yeah, like I know we tend not to talk about the big evil corporation where I work, but like
the corporation which
like
name shall not be spoken.
Yeah, like our corporation fulfilled all its S orders, its Series S orders, so there is just stock in stock rooms or in our warehouse ready to be ordered and bought anytime.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. I thought it was like, because what is it? The Series S and the Series X, they share the same CPU, is it?
Yeah, sure. Let's go with that.
So I thought that's what the AMD holdup was, but maybe it's a graphics thing. Either way, I didn't realize that the Series S was available.
Yeah, it's well, like, you know, I've noticed it being readily available, but I've also noticed an uptake in people not wanting the S because they want to hold out for the X. They want the disk drive. They want the, like, you know, especially for those people that are interested in backwards compatibility and still have quite a large physical collection of games. Backwards compatibility is no good to you if you have a digital console and you're a physical collector.
That's one of the reasons it sold me on the X.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. So a lot of people are still in that mindset. They're like, no, I'll hold out for the X. Thanks.
Yep. And even our Paul was asking us in the chat, saying that he had an S in his cart ready to go, ready to pull the trigger. And even I was like, I don't know. That's a really fun short-term investment. It's not a great long-term investment. You've got 500 gigabytes to work with there that can't take any old hard drive, and you know you're not getting the next-gen experience. Really, you're just getting better frame rates on a last-gen experience. That's kind of what you're getting.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's huge merits. Like, a lot of fun, as I said, there to be had, but I do think that even the Xbox Series X, I can see that, as powerful as it is, I can see that getting a revision in the next like year or two. And that's going to leave your S looking pretty archaic, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, the S is very much the interim console. It's the iPhone SE of the console world, you know what I mean?
It is, and that's fine for a lot of people. You know, and especially with Game Pass, like, it's fine for a lot of people. But I think if you're anyway interested and you want to be your console and do you want to use it for a long period of time, probably better to just hold out however long it takes you to get another 100 quid together. You know?
Yeah, basically. That's it. Just hold out. I think just hold out. But look, speaking of more next gen news, and speaking of Microsoft, of course, we're always talking about, when we mentioned next gen, we're always talking about both sides. But Microsoft have asked Series X owners if they'd be interested in PS5 DualSense like features on the Xbox gamepad.
Yes, specifically all of the weird funny things that a PS5 controller can do, which you know more about than I.
Yes, from what I understand, like, Microsoft are kind of seeing that the conversation is a lot about the DualSense controller when it comes to next gen. And obviously haptic feedback, which is very cool. Mm-hmm. It's very cool. I like it a lot. I've been playing, well, I'll get to it later, that I've been still playing lots of Demon's Souls, but there's an area in Demon's Souls where the level is basically centered around a giant heart.
Yes.
And like with the haptic feedback and the speaker in the controller, like, that is really cool. It adds a really cool sense of world building to feel that heartbeat as you're going through.
Really?
The controller's always just slightly vibrating in the pulse of a heartbeat. And you can slightly hear the dum out of the speaker on the controller as well. And it's really cool atmospheric world building that is used with a controller. You never think world building and controller goes together.
Yeah. You know, that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, because like, I know the level you're talking about as well, and that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. So stuff like that. It is. So, but like the Venn diagram of people who have experienced the DualSense and who also own an Xbox to be able to answer this survey, it's a very small intersecting piece of that diagram.
Yes, and I think that's something that's very important when you think about this. So,
yes,
just to reiterate, the PlayStation 5 controller has haptic feedback for like conveying feeling to your hands about the situation around you. You know, the feeling of walking on sand, the feeling of your heartbeat, as you say. It also has, what are the other like weird features of
adaptive triggers?
Adaptive triggers, where it makes the trigger harder to pull depending on the situation, such as pulling back a bow or whatever, jamming of a gun.
Exactly.
Anything else?
It has the built-in speaker to add some kind of extra sound effects and stuff. Like I remember playing, I can't remember what game it was. I was playing on PS4, which also had the speaker. Yep. And every time you picked up an audio log in the game, it played through the controller rather than the TV. And it kind of gave it that sort of, like I'm listening to a videotape kind of sound, because it's kind of not a strong speaker, you know? It's like, oh, I just found this tape that I'm listening to on an old tape player or whatever, which was cool. So it has that kind of feature as well. The touchpad, but I mean the touchpad is very kind of like, it is what it is. It's just an extra menu button.
I'll go to bat for the touchpad. I've often gone to bat for the touchpad, and it's just because people don't use the goddamn thing. A great example of that touchpad is The Witcher 3 on the PlayStation. If you touch that touchpad and you swipe it up, you get the map. If you swipe it down, you get your inventory. If you swipe it left, you get your quests. If you swipe it right, you get your whatever. You know, it's so handy when you have a game with like a million menus to be able to just quick action them, you know? And then for your one Witcher 3s, you have a billion press it to bring up your map. That's
press to bring up your map. But that's kind of like, that's it then. Like there's no other, they're the features.
Yeah.
The two big selling ones are haptic feedback and adaptive triggers. That's the big thing I think that Microsoft are focused on. Probably more so the haptic feedback, because that's the thing that everyone's talking about when it comes to the DualSense, is that haptic feedback.
Yeah, and so to your point earlier around the Venn diagram of people who actually can answer the survey who have an Xbox, who have also either owned or played a PlayStation 5, it's quite a small Venn diagram overlap.
Yeah.
What we were kind of speculating when we were chatting about this at a different time was, what's the game plan here? Is this to say, you know, okay, we've taken your feedback and now we're going to go and design the Xbox Series X controller 2.0. I think it's a bit more insidious. I think it's, well, we know that Venn diagram's really small, so we're going to work the numbers here. And we're going to say, well, we asked 1 million Xbox gamers whether they cared about those features. And we're not going to tell you that 99% of them haven't actually experienced those features, but we asked them anyway. And 90% of them told us that they don't care. It's like, of course they don't, because they've never experienced it.
Yeah, exactly. And we've talked about this on the show. I can explain to you till the cows come home how cool haptic feedback is. Until you get it in your hands, it doesn't matter. No amount of me explaining it to you is going to make you know how it feels and operates until you do it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
And I don't care. I really don't care about it at all. And like, when you tell me about the heart thing, I was like, well, that is cool, actually. But then I'll stop caring about it after the show.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. But I did just have an epiphany as well. This just came to me in the moment here now. Are maybe Microsoft putting feelers out for a Elite Controller 3?
That's very probable.
Let's take some of that tech from the DualSense and make an Elite Controller 3, slap a 200 quid price tag on it and go, why would you buy it over to 2? Well, it has all these cool new features.
That's very true, actually, because they've the Elite Series 2 is a phenomenal controller. I have not used the one that came with my new console at all, because I have that beast of a thing in my hands. But that sounds like a terrible sentence. But yeah, you're right. Like, that would be a huge USP to the new Elite to say, well, this is the one with haptic feedback. This is the one with, you know, whatever. Take the already great controller and just add those things to it. Yeah, I probably would buy one.
But at the same time, none of this matters, because there is a new console coming to the market that's just going to wipe out Sony and Microsoft. We're going to be, in 5 years' time, you're going to be like, Microsoft? Who's Microsoft?
Yes, you are right in saying that. The new messiah of gaming has made themselves known. The king has risen. And by which I mean the Colonel. The Colonel, in fact, Shane, has risen. It seems as if yet another challenger is entering the fray for the console wars, and it's not Atari, it's not Intellivision, it's not anyone that you would ever expect. It's the Colonel KFC. Wow. Okay, so let's unpack this for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to paint a picture for our listeners, right?
Yeah.
You're out, you're like, geez, man, I'd really love some KFC.
Mm-hmm. Quick question, what do you get?
Me, I'm kind of a boneless banquet kind of guy. I like all the little sides and dips and stuff like that. I don't really like to get the buckets and things like that.
Yes.
So I'm going to paint you a picture here, Phil,
please
and
do.
our listeners. I'm going to paint everyone a picture, right? You're walking down the street, you get your craving for, you're thinking, I'd really like some KFC.
Mm-hmm.
Great. You pop into your local KFC, you grab yourself a 10-piece bucket, whatever your jam is in KFC. You get home and you're like, I have this KFC, but I really, really need to play some games of FIFA or some, Call of Duty Black Ops.
Something which
like
may impede the speed at which you would eat your bucket of chicken.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And then what happens? Your chicken goes cold. And who wants to eat cold, soggy, non-crispy chicken?
Tale as old as time.
Yeah, exactly. This happens to us all.
Mm-hmm.
So what you do is you load up your FIFA, your Call of Duty on your KFC console. You open the drawer on your KFC console. You place your chicken inside. And your KFC console uses the heat generated by regular gaming devices anyway, and channels it into keeping your chicken warm and crisp.
Shane, can I please correct you? I'm very offended in the fact that you refer to it as a drawer. It is, in fact, a chicken chamber, I believe is the official term.
Apologies. I will send out an official apology to KFC on Twitter. I will at them and apologize. So this is the KFC console. Let's just unpack.
Let's take a step back here for a second. What the hell are we talking about? We are not going mental. We haven't dropped some kind of strange mushrooms or something in which we think this is a thing. No, this is news. Over the Christmas period, KFC had announced many months ago that they were getting into the market, and we all took it as a joke. We thought that the Twitter account was just having a bit of a laugh with the KF console. That's how they're marketing it, by the way, the KF console. What is the KF console? Well, the KF console is essentially a box made by Cooler Master, who makes they make PC tower cases and stuff. This tower of sorts will hold a beefy graphics card, a beefy CPU, 2 terabytes of hard drive space, which I believe is SSD, and much, much more. Not to mention the aforementioned chicken chamber, where you can keep your chicken warm for some reason. But all of this was announced many, many a moon ago to some degree. And we took it as facade. It can't be true, good one, KFC. But no, they announced just before Christmas they are very serious, and it is coming to the market with a partnership from Cooler Master, and it's true Cooler Master. They can be bought with no price going up at the moment, though analysts are speculating based on the components in it. You could be talking about $2,000 worth of a console here. But KFC, without showing us controller, without telling us where the games are coming from, without telling us very much at all, are releasing a console into the space where consoles can't be picked up, such as a PS5 or a Series X.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Shane?
I think it's mad. First of all, I'd encourage anyone listening to just have a quick Google, because this thing looks like you took HAL 9000 from A Space Odyssey, mixed it with a DFA fryer, and then rammed PC parts into it.
Yeah, it's like HAL mixed with one of those air fryers.
Yes, air fryer. That's it. Yeah, it's like HAL mixed with an air fryer that is a PC. So just because this is an audio show, just have a quick Google while we're discussing it, because you want to know what it looks like anyway, at least.
Oh, please whip out your phone and look at it. Yeah.
I this is crazy to me, and the fact that it's a beefy computer, as well.
It's a
beefy machine.
It's going to be what kills it, I'd say, is because it's so beefy. Yeah. Who has the money to buy it?
True. One thing I do like is someone sat down. I know it's KFC and we all think it's a big joke or whatever, but on a serious note, someone sat down and was kind of figure out what to do with all the wasted heat that's evacuated from a gaming PC. There's wasted energy there. That heat gets expelled to keep your PC cool. So, now don't get me wrong, it's after been twisted into the absolute nightmare fuel that is, let's use that heat to keep your fried chicken warm. But Like, someone's thinking about it, and hopefully that will lead to something cool in the future in the PC space.
Yeah.
I just wanted to get that off my chest. Now let's talk about how ridiculous it is to keep chicken warm on a PC.
Do you think that came first? Is this a chicken and the egg situation? Forgive the pun. But, like, what came first? The need to do something with console heat, or a console, and because we're KFC, we need to integrate chicken in here somehow. Like, what was the initial inspiration, let's say, for the chicken chamber? These are the questions, Shane, that will keep me up at night until we get that deep dive behind the scenes documentary in 10 years' time with the Colonel.
Yeah. I can't wait until KFC and Cooler Master send these out to loads of influencers and young musicians, young actors who think this is funny and cool, and they're going to be all over Instagram going, got the new KFC console, this thing's awesome. And before you know it, it becomes a huge thing.
I can't wait to see Digital Foundry get a go at it.
Yes.
Or
yes.
I want to see how comparable is this thing. I think it's going to kick the crap out of a PlayStation 5, but the reason being is because it's a PC. It's and this is what we need to clarify here. They are calling it the KF console. Now, granted, they haven't clarified one way or the other whether this will have its own marketplace, whether this would have its own console space. You don't turn on a PS4 and look at Steam and Epic Games and all that. You don't turn on a PS4 or an Xbox and access Windows. That's what makes a console. And that's what separates a PC from a console. This looks like it's probably going to be a gaming PC of sorts because of the components they're using. And I really, really doubt that KFC are fleshing out a whole back end for this thing to have its own marketplace and store and stuff,
No, God.
Online servers and all that jazz, So yeah, what this is really doing is this is reviving the idea of a Steam machine. And what a Steam machine is years ago, Steam started this initiative to say, well, we've got a marketplace and we think PCs are the future, but people are really hung up on consoles. So how about we market you a $500 PC or more in a lot of cases in a very manageable little box that looks like a console. It sits underneath your TV and you just play PC games from this thing. That was a great idea that I don't know why it went away, but it never got off the ground. This looks like it could be the first Steam machine of, ever really, to hit the mass market.
Yeah.
And I won't be ashamed in saying I tried to pre-book one. I can't get I can't figure out where to go is the issue. And I can't figure out how much they are, but I kind of want one. This seems like something that I will put up on a shelf and never touch again. And I'll just look at it every now and again and go, oh yeah, that happened.
Yeah. I mean, they're touting that it's going to have swappable components and everything. So it is a fully fledged PC. It's
a PC. And it's got a really beefy graphics card. We won't get into the tech specs. It's got a really beefy processor. It's VR ready, which is not something that's cheap to do on a PC.
No.
It's pretty cool if you ask me. That they didn't come in and they didn't do a Soldier Boy on it. Do you remember Soldier Boy's console?
Yes. Oh God. Yes.
It's not playing bootleg Super Mario NES. It's going the opposite direction and leaning too far the other direction, really.
Yeah.
To make it mass consumable. But I can't wait. To see it. Shane, have you any interest in buying a KF console?
Not for the kind of money they're talking about, but what would probably sell me is if it comes with a dedicated button that I just press and chicken shows up at my house. I'm sold. If I can just press.
So
I don't want an app. I don't want to have to go onto the website and do home delivery or go onto Just Eat. I just want a button where I can map my order to the button and I press it and the closest KFC pings and goes, that man needs some chicken.
Nice. You essentially want the Amazon order buttons for washing up liquid and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want. But for chicken. Man, if you're going to be a KFC console, there better be some kind of way to make chicken easier to get into my mouth.
I will never forget when I got my first Xbox last generation, the Xbox One S, and me and my partner were lying in bed going, we would really love a Domino's. Have you got battery on your phone? No. Have you got battery on your phone? No. Damn, what are we going? Oh, wait, hold on. And I I remember seeing the Domino's app in the marketplace on the Xbox, and for the first and only time, ordered a full pizza meal, get all out thing from Domino's on the big 50-inch screen, going, "This is the future." And I never did it again.
In the future. And now here we are keeping chicken warm in a console.
Yeah. Domino's are going to have to hit hard. They're going to have to really hit hard. But look, we digress. Keep close to CGC for all of your KFC news. We here at CGC fully endorse the KF console. We respect you, Colonel, and should you wish to do any partnerships in the near future, we would love to get a hand on one of these consoles. Please do let us know. But not to spend too much time on that, last couple of weeks we were talking about our Christmas episodes, our games of the year, our games of all time, and you'll remember, Shane, I brought up that I have an affinity for Tekken.
Yes, you do.
Well, it seems as if we have some Tekken adjacent news coming to us. Something I'm not too familiar around how it's going to net out, but it's interesting all the same. Katsuhiro Harada, who is essentially the poster child of Tekken. He is like the runner of the show, let's say, over in Bandai Namco in terms of Tekken, and he has done some wonderful stuff with that franchise. He's well loved. He apparently approached Bandai Namco with another idea for a game, a harebrained idea of sorts. Like, he's kind of surprised that Bandai went for it. And not only did they go for it, but they have reportedly, without giving away figures, they have reportedly given him carte blanche in the sense of they have written him the largest check essentially ever written for a video game to come out of Bandai Namco. It seems as if it's going to be the most expensive game that company, who has been around for quite some time, is ever going to have made. And it's not a fighter.
No, it's not a fighter. We don't know what kind of game it is. We don't know much about it. He just said in an interview that he, like, you know, Bandai Namco. I always find it really difficult to pronounce that. Is that just me? I don't know.
Bandai Namco?
I always get it wrong. I always call him Nandai Bamco.
Nandai Bamco,
like, without fail. Anyway, but yeah, he has said that they're going to make the most expensive game to date that they have ever made. Now, there's been no figures, so in relative terms, we don't know what they mean by the most expensive game to date. Is it still half the cost of making a Call of Duty? Or is it 4 times the cost of making a Call of Duty? Who knows? We don't, because... But it's the most expensive game they have ever made, and they have kind of someone who has a high caliber in fighting games making it, and it's not a fighting game.
You gotta wonder. Like, that guy is an eccentric as well. Like, he's... not to sound like I'm painting with one brush, but, like, Japanese culture can be a bit eccentric at times, especially when you're looking at press events and stuff. Like, there's always like a bit of craziness going on. Harada generally stands apart from the crowd from being that little bit crazier than the rest. So I can only imagine what he's like in a boardroom scenario. Like, he turns up at press events with, like, you know, slick sunglasses and, like, you know, Yakuza style suits and stuff on, and he just, like, acts a bizarre character. So whether that's a persona or not, I imagine this guy has some pretty bonkers ideas on paper somewhere on a notepad in his room, you know? I wonder which one made the cut. Yeah,
I wonder, like, what is it that Bandai's seen in it that went, we can definitely recoup our investments on this, you know? He's quoted by saying, I honestly think this might be the most costly development project in Bandai Namco history. I think it's incredible that the higher-ups approved it. As well, this approval passed in the middle of the coronavirus pandemic, and he hasn't even been properly able to start the project yet.
I wonder, is there like a little bit of like, oh crap, I didn't think that they'd take me seriously here.
Maybe. Either that or he has pitched the second coming of Jesus and Bandai believe him. Like, you know, they're like, this game is going to change gaming forever. And it comes out to a whimper and they lose a ton of money. But that's not for me to project. That's not for me to project. I'm not a financial analyst.
Comes back to what you said in the past, though. Stop telling me about games years before they come out.
Yes.
Stop telling me that your game has been approved in a boardroom before you can even tell me what the hell genre it is, yet alone anything about it. You know, Harada's, he's stepping on some thin ice that has been tested recently, by which I mean he is following down the same route as one game, Cyberpunk 2077. And as we know, that didn't go too well, and it's still not going well.
No, there's a lawsuit. So the words lawsuit are now being thrown around.
Officially.
Yes, a class action lawsuit against CD Projekt Red for basically lying about the quality of the game to investors.
Yep.
That's it.
They straight up did.
Yep, that's the ins and outs of it. They're being sued for lying about the quality and the readiness of their game.
Yeah, we won't bog down on this one too long because I think, like, water is wet comes to mind.
Yes.
But this is funny because anytime you see anything happening in the video game space where it's newsworthy enough to make the actual news, this will always happen. A class action lawsuit for the shareholders will kick off because nobody is ever promised, oh yeah, a disaster is going to happen in Q1 that will get us on CNN. Obviously something went wrong, Yeah. But this one in particular is funny because CD Projekt Red went out of their way to confirm that the older generation, the PS4 and the Xbox One console versions of the game were surprisingly playable. I think it was something along those lines of what they were saying. Yeah. They were constantly reaffirming the public that everything was going well, and they just straight up denied all press access to those versions, knowing full well what they were releasing.
Yeah.
And to say that they lied is not something... I generally, Mr. Devil's Advocate here, I'm generally the one that goes, I don't know, I can kind of see where they were coming from. I can't do it this time. They straight up lied, not only to us, but to the people who gave them money. And I'm going to assume people gave CD Projekt a lot of money.
Oh, definitely. Of course.
In the years coming up to Cyberpunk.
Yeah, of course. It's just, look, they lied. They're being held accountable for their actions. And people, when there's money involved, people want their money. It's always, it's a tale as old as time. If I give you some money and you promise me more money back in return, I at least want, or if you owe me money back, I at least want it back,
Yeah, and the funny thing is with all of this is Cyberpunk has already sold more than 13 million copies.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk has already sold 13 million copies, and from my understanding, that's excluding the number of ones who have asked for refunds. That's active copies, I believe, is the figure. Yeah. Am I wrong in saying that?
Tracks both physical and digital sales across all platforms. The number also factors in the refunds. That factors in refunds.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so it's the people who still have the game is 13 million minimum. That's more than recouped all of their costs. All of their investors and shareholders can be paid.
Yeah.
This is the thing. So it's not even a question of money per se. It's more so that they outlined a list of deliverables on a document.
Yeah.
And on the biggest portion of their user base, whether it was the biggest place that the game sold is irrelevant. That game is available on 6 or 7 platforms, whatever.
Yeah.
The 2 biggest install bases in the world is PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which means that potentially everybody on those platforms can buy that game there, and they promised to make it work there, and they did not deliver, and they used shady practices, and that's what gotten them into hot water. And that can be a lot more damning than saying, you said I'd get twice my investment back and I only got 1.5 times. Judge will rule, pay the rest,
Yeah, exactly.
In this kind of situation, the judge can go, oh no, you need to be made an example of. You need to really pay out the ass to make good on this. Yet alone fix the game that you're already struggling with. It could be pretty bad, especially since, with exception to Witcher 3, they've never had, they're not a big company. They're not.
No, they've slowly grown over time. They were they had Witcher 1, then, Witcher 2 was a bit more popular, that was on console, and then the Witcher 3 exploded, and that's where all their big fame came from.
Yep. And so, how are they going to handle this? God only knows. But we will see. Let's not make this another episode about Cyberpunk.
No.
Speaking of big development companies, did you see that Epic Games have bought new property?
Yes, I've seen this.
They bought a mall out in Virginia or somewhere, is it?
Yeah, they brought a shopping mall to turn it into their new headquarters.
I saw the overmap image. That's a big ass mall as well. Like that's like we don't have anything comparable in Ireland. I don't think.
No,
like
God, no.
That's that's an American style mall.
Yeah.
Size large mall. You know, like that's something to behold. Yeah, they bought one of those in COVID where these things obviously aren't being used. Probably got a good deal, and they're moving Epic into this old mall. I just want to know, like, are they going to be tongue in cheek enough to kind of keep some of the facade, or will they just rip it all down and make it like just Epic, you know, office building number 2?
Yeah,
like I would love to think that they keep all of the, like, you know, pound shops and clothes stores and whatever, and like, you know, the little kind of like coffee huts in the middle. Yeah. Like I want to see them all still be there, but just with like office spaces inside of them.
That would be hilarious. Like, oh, I need to speak to like Janet in marketing. Oh yeah, Janet works over in the Starbucks office over here. You know,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you go down to Walmart, take a right, and she's in Hot Topic.
That would be amazing. Hilarious. Yeah, I'd love for them to do that, and then do some kind of fun like YouTube kind of or whatever. TikTok, whatever the kids want to be using, to do like tours of their new office and be like, oh yeah, this is like where we develop the new games here at you know, Walmart or whatever, Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah. Barnes and Nobles, yeah. Like it's a funny thing because they've got the money that they could do that, make it efficient, but also like keep some of the facade or whatever.
Yes.
But they could in this time where we're losing malls and shopping centers to all of our non-American listeners. It would be nice if Epic kind of took that as a, let's just preserve one.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going to work in it. It's not going to be used as a mall per se, but let's just keep one going. At least that you can look at it, you know, and remember it. It would be pretty cool. But no doubt they're going to tear it down and make some ugly office with a campus, and you know, their workers are not going to leave that area in like 3 years because they now live there.
Yeah.
But that's the reality of it. Speaking of, I'm not quite sure how to segue this one. Speaking of shopping center areas that I guess you could tangentially look at and say strip malls, you have IKEA coming in, and they are making a couple of interesting changes to their procedures in order to facilitate some of the new consoles. This kind of touches off what we've talked about in the past, Shane, with the design of these new consoles, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does indeed. Like, so the new consoles are so huge that IKEA thought we need to give customers an item that they can bring around the store with them to test if their new TV unit or new set of shelves or whatever is going to stand up to the new consoles. You know, is there going to be enough space, enough clearance for ventilation? Is there going to be this, that, and the other? So all the memes about these consoles have been super big and huge, have kind of like actually folded into real life now. You really do need to, I've completely lost the word in English, in any language. You need to bring a physical item around the store with you to test these shelves. So a meme has become real. What happened to me there? My brain just stopped working.
Blue screen.
Blue screen, yeah. I got the blue screen of life.
What they're essentially doing is they're giving you the digital representation and possibly in store the physical representation of what a PS5 dimensions are.
Yeah.
And you are now able to like take this and either digitally or potentially physically apply that to the new TV unit you're going to buy and go, nope, there is not a shelf on this that is the size of the first Son of God. So therefore I can't fit my PlayStation on it. Yeah. I must move on to the next one. Yeah. Interesting that consoles have gotten to that point where it's like IKEA kind of has to look at them and go, oh, that's really messed up with our fall range.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, the Hergenspiel won't fit the Xbox.
The Hergenspiel.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to, because like across most electronics, like, you know, TVs are generally kind of the same size, like their base stands and stuff like that, and other little things that you might have around, like your set top, like your satellite TV box and stuff like that, are easy to plan for. But these things just came out of left field with big giant behemoth boxes that, like, you know, they're just not going to fit in your units. You're going to have to like resize and retool everything. No,
I have possibly what I thought when I bought it from IKEA, actually secondhand, but it came from IKEA. A TV unit that I thought would hold all of my consoles in perpetuity and never have any issue. One with huge gaps and shelves and stuff all over the goddamn place. And my Xbox barely fits in, and I had to take it out because I was afraid it would overheat, and there's no hope of the PlayStation fitting in there. So, way to go, Sony and Microsoft, I guess. But interesting that IKEA, the purveyor of some of the finest meatballs, came in and said, we need to solve this.
Yeah.
Speaking of coming in and solving issues, Red Dead Redemption was not without its issues, but it's coming out on top in some way in 2020. It seems as if Steam, after doing their whip around for community best game of the year, which is kind of nice the way Steam doesn't just like step in and go, oh, I'm Gabe Newell and I'm going to tell you what the best game of 2020 is. You know, they asked the players, and that's cool.
Yeah.
Even though it came out last year, well, now that we're in 2021, 2 years ago, and even though it just got a PC port at the beginning of 2020, the official winner of Steam's 2020 Game of the Year goes to, drumroll please, Red Dead Redemption 2! Fair play.
Yeah, that's it. It's a great game. It deserves it. The fact that you say like the kind of planets aligned in that when it came out and when it got its PC port means that it is 2020's Game of the Year for Steam is great for Red Dead. It's a great accolade and it deserves it.
Yep. Little update on Red Dead 2. I bought it on PC, specifically the online portion, the $5 entry thing. It runs super well, at least in 1080p. And I kind of forgot how good that multiplayer thing is. I really want to arrange, you know, a let's play or something with all of us on the team, because I think there's so much stuff we could do and it could be a bit of a laugh. But yeah, that game's going from strength to strength. I hear great things coming out of it now, even though it was a bit lackluster before. So great.
Yeah.
Go on, the lads.
Exactly.
Delighted for the teams that worked like horses, worked like the slaves who built the pyramids in order to make that game. With that, speaking of, let's say, mishandling situations, Sony, possibly actually very well handling the situation when I think about it, is officially discontinuing the PS4 in certain markets, specifically the PS4 Pro.
Yeah.
How long has the PlayStation 5 been out? It's like 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah.
And it seems as if Sony, at this juncture, have decided, well, we don't need the Pro anymore. And that's a funny decision, which makes sense in the current landscape, but I think there's more to it. The reason I think it's funny is because if you think about the PS2 only stopped officially being made like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Like that thing went on and on and on. It couldn't be killed. And the PS3 only a couple of years ago as well. And Sony have just started already discontinuing parts of their PS4 library of consoles, I mean.
Yes.
And it seems as if they're really leaning into this. If you want new games, buy a damn PS5. Because their consoles haven't gone down in price because they've been a market leader. So your Slim is, I'm assuming, 300
300-ish quid depending on the hard drive size.
Yeah. And then the Pro is like 400.
Yeah.
Which is also the entry price for a PS5.
Yes.
So is this the decision to say, just buy a PS5 at that point? And maybe the Slim gets like, I don't know, the PS4 Slim gets a reduction to being like 150 or 200 or something for people who just want to play Fortnite, get the thing. I can understand why the Pro doesn't make a lot of sense in between.
Yes.
But I would have thought that they would just bring the Pro down to 300 and get rid of the Slim. But obviously, they see more of a market share in the Slim.
Yes, so the reason for this is, number one, they're discontinuing all but one model, and it is the 500 gigabyte Slim is the one
which is going to be probably the most cost-effective model to make.
Exactly.
Whether it would sell, I don't know, but to make it has to be the most cost-effective.
And I mean, if you are buying it just to play Fortnite or whatever, like 500 gig Slim is fine.
Yes.
But the move has been taken so that they can increase PS5 production.
And that's where I corrected myself at the beginning there, where I was kind of saying, oh, actually, maybe it does make sense because Yeah, they need every factory they've got making those PS5s, don't they?
Yes, exactly. So they're kind of thinking, going, right, if we can put more PS5s out in the wild for everyone to buy, there's no incentive to buy a Pro, because a Pro is the kind of, oh, look at our beefy PlayStation that can do all this stuff.
Yep.
But now you can just buy the 5, because the 5 plays everything that the Pro can play, and it can play it better. You know?
Yep. The Pro was the speckled middle child of
yes, exactly.
of the consoles, so it makes sense, I guess. Yeah. But still sad to see, you know, when the last PS4 goes on sale, or when the last PS4 gets made, it's going to be kind of a sad chapter, because I think this was a great generation. And I think that now with backwards compatibility, it doesn't matter as much. It made sense when the PS2 was still being made, because you couldn't play it on a PS3.
Yes.
But I guess it doesn't matter anymore.
Oh.
And lastly, it seems, to round up nicely our little news docket, 100 billion hours were spent watching gaming content on YouTube specifically in 2020. That's a big ass number, but given the year of 2020, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a lot of hours.
Yeah,
that's a lot of hours. You know, it's 100 billion. In fact, I mean, there's no other way to say it.
That's a lot of Jacksepticeye. That's a lot of
oh god,
PewDiePie.
Yeah, PewDiePie screaming in your face. Yeah, and it goes even this news story goes even further to kind of break down that 100 billion into its respective genres and games that were viewed most. Or so, I think Minecraft took the top spot.
Shocker.
The most watched game content on YouTube. Apparently, it's the equivalent of traveling to Neptune and back 475,000 times.
What, really?
That's what 100 billion hours is.
Wow.
Equates to. Just to put that into ridiculous context for people, that doesn't help people.
475,000 round trips to Neptune. No, sorry, that would be 475,000 one-way trips to Neptune.
No, Neptune and back.
Oh, it is a round trip. Holy crap.
Yeah, so Minecraft was the single most watched with 201 billion views.
Wow.
And then next was Roblox.
Roblox is like one of those games, isn't it? That's like super popular that I know nothing about.
It's super popular with a younger generation of kids, like kids that are like 12, 13 and stuff. It's hugely popular.
Yeah.
Hugely popular.
But that has 75 billion views in the year of 2020. Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. So then we had
just one of these I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So you've got Grand Theft Auto 5, Fortnite, and a third one.
Yeah.
Ganera Free Fire is sharing kind of joint third with 72, 70, and 67 billion views respectively. Ganera Free Fire. What the hell is that?
I have no idea what it is.
This is how out of touch we are. We hold a gaming podcast once a week, Shane. This is one of the most popular video games on the planet, apparently.
So a quick Google search tells me that Garena Free Fire is the best survival battle royale on mobile.
Ah, that explains it. Do you know, have you ever gone on your Facebook and looked at Facebook gaming and just noticed that it's mostly teens in a certain part of the world playing Realm Royale or one of those mobile games or whatever? Big business in certain parts of the world. We're just so super not plugged into it here in Ireland.
No, but either way, it followed Roblox for it had 72 billion views on YouTube this year.
Wow. It bet Fortnite.
What's interesting is it bet Fortnite, and what's interesting is Grand Theft Auto also bet Fortnite. GTA 5 bet Fortnite by 3 billion views.
GTA 5 has super staying power in YouTube, because it has that video editor feature, and because you can do so much in GTA. It's great for content. It's great for streaming and everything else, but it's really good for making content. I've watched a couple of series of people doing IRL, role plays in GTA, and that's quite fun. So I think that's probably kept that dream alive, so to speak. But we're content creators. We thought it's interesting to note that, wow, this industry that we're trying to step into at the moment is really flooded at the minute.
Yes, it is. It's flooded, but it's that's up from 2019 as well. So it's still getting bigger. So there is a corner to be carved out by people as well in all the noise.
For sure.
So it's it's a good
Come
sign,
to us for your most casual corner as we try to figure out the next step in our casual journey, which is the land of YouTube. But watch this space. Will we take a really quick break? Shane, let people know about our beautiful socials, grab our breath, maybe a drink, and then we'll get into what we've been doing over the past 2 weeks, really.
Yes.
Okay, play the goddamn thing. Hi there. If you've made it this far, let me take the opportunity to thank you. If you would like to support the podcast or all things CGC, you can do so in a number of ways. Please do follow and subscribe to the podcast, and where possible, leave us a review. It will help us make the show better and also help our visibility grow. To stay up to date with all things CGC, do check out and join all of our socials in the description below. That's the Casual Game Community over on Facebook, at CG Critic on both Twitter and Insta, and of course, be sure to check out all of our content at casualgamecritic.com. Thank you again for all of your support, it means the world to us. Now, back to the show. And we're back! Shane, we have not talked face to face, apart from today, since, well, we haven't talked face to face in years, but we haven't talked on Discord face to face for like 2 weeks.
Yes.
Because we had Christmas and we had pre-recorded episodes. So I'm wanting to know, Shane, how have you spent the Christmas period? Specifically, I don't want to hear about your life events. I don't want to hear about your growing up and, engaging and what have you. I want to hear about some games, dude. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so much like before Christmas, I spent most of Christmas playing Demon's Souls.
Nice. How far in are you now?
Yeah. I'm pretty much at the end of New Game Plus. Like, I just have the final boss before moving on, if I want to do another New Game run, New Game Plus as it were. But look, people who listen to this show and like follow our work on the site are no stranger to knowing my obsession with Souls and Souls-like games. So it was inevitable I was going to have like a New Game Plus run through to explore every inch and corner and complete every quest line and find every item and, the usual.
All that jazz. What did you make of Demon's Souls?
I loved it. I thought it was great. There will be a review forthcoming whenever I get to it. I've said it on the podcast now, so it has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked it a lot. I think I'm going to maybe have a controversial statement here, and I'm going to say it's actually quite an easy Souls game.
Oh, okay.
I think, personally. Now, I'm not one of those people that operates on the get good mentality and telling people that they just need to get good and the game will be fine. I just, in comparison to later entries in the Souls franchise, I think because they were experimenting and it's kind of the first entry in what a Souls game would become, there's a lot of very mechanics that can be easily exploited and just make your play through much simpler.
Right. And I wonder, is that because Dark Souls 3 is quite difficult and, they really kind of lean, maybe I'm wrong in saying that, but they seem to have leaned into more cheap, kill you regularly mechanics, but there's a bonfire really close,
Yes.
And you just have to slam your head against the wall until you kind of break through. But what exactly makes Demon's Souls, in your eyes, easier than the rest?
The fact that it's a lot less non-linear, that you can complete it in any order you want. I never felt that I was bashing my head against a wall with one particular boss until I beat them to progress.
Yes.
So, because you can go to any Archstone at any time and work your way through the game anyway, if there was a particular boss where I just kept beating my head against the wall and not getting anywhere, I could just go to a different area of the game and maybe make some progress there, and by the time I come back, I would have leveled up or found a better weapon or, found some item that could help me defeat the boss that I was struggling with.
That's very true.
Yeah, that's part of why I think it's an easier Souls game. That and a lot of the bosses are quite cheesable, as it were, because Demon's Souls is very much the first time they were kind of From Software experimenting with these epic boss fights. And they kind of throw in mechanics that are like, yeah, if you can figure them out, it makes the fight really easy, or you'll just end up, trying to fight the boss like normal and dying a lot. And they kind of probably thought it was funny to go, okay, well, the difficulty comes in you're not being able to figure out the mechanic to beat the boss.
Yes.
But once you figure it out, the fight becomes quite simple.
Yeah. And I guess it is the first, so it was kind of nice probably for you to be able to cane and rinse it nicely rather than having a negative experience with it.
Yes. I will say that New Game Plus is one of the biggest jumps in difficulty, I think, in any Souls game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's quite a large jump in difficulty. Like I was quite a high level finishing it the first time around, and like even simple enemies could still get the drop on me in New Game Plus.
So like, we'll make it easy-ish for new players to get on board with their shiny new PS5. And then we're going to hit you over the head with a New Game Plus for any returning veterans.
Basically, I think that's what it's like, yeah. And the fact that it's it has a new like fractured mode as well to make keep the game more interesting. This is something that Bluepoint added, which basically you can turn on fractured mode in the game and it completely flips the game mirrored. So like, when you were going down a hallway and you would normally turn right to go to the next area, and now you have to turn left. So it flips the whole game. Enemies come at you from different sides, doorways and entries. It's just another way to keep it fresh and interesting, because the Souls community, especially with Demon Souls, they know every inch and corner and exploit of that game. That Bluepoint wanted to include something that was like, oh, here's a new fresh way to kind of, change your brain into looking at the game a different way.
Yeah, that's interesting. And does it flip your character as well? Is what's in your left hand now in your right hand, or is it just the characters the same?
It does, but it doesn't flip the buttons, which makes it even more brain breaking.
Oh, that's ridiculous. What? So like L1 is your right hand?
Yeah, so your sword is normally in your right hand in Demon Souls.
Yeah.
In mirrored mode, it will flip to your left hand, but you still have to press R1 to swing the sword.
Oh, that would break me, dude. No.
It's interesting, and it's so brain busting. I know you can turn it on and off at any time. You can toggle it, which is great.
Yeah.
You can experiment with it and test it out and stuff, but it really does break your brain.
They really put zero effort into making that compatible, didn't they? They just went, right, we figured out how to mirror the horizontal of our screen.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go for it.
That doesn't make any sense. If your hand buttons are still switched, does that mean when you press left on the controller that your character turns right? Or is everything backways?
No, so that's what I'm saying. None of the controls are backways, just how your character looks. So for example, your sword will switch to your left hand, but you still have to use the right button to swing the sword.
I kind of wish they went the whole hog and went no, to turn left you have to push right. And
that would have been crazy. That would have been.
And then seeing people beat that with the Donkey Kongas or something like that would have been amazing. But hey, we digress. Do you play or do anything else?
I got a new capture card as a Christmas present.
Nice, me too.
So I've been fiddling around with that, kind of getting the software all set up. I've yet to actually connect it to the PlayStation. And actually record something, because there was so many software updates and firmware updates and drivers to be downloaded and installed that I kind of just, by the time I had all that done, I just wanted to sit down and have a cup of tea.
Such is the age we are approaching.
Yes.
Yeah, because we went two different directions in terms of capture cards. You got the name brand, and I went the Chinese knockoff direction, and just to see, because I was kind of of the mind of getting the name brand one as well, but I was like, hey, if you're getting one, and spoilers, we are looking to make video content in 2021. This is why we're doing this. But I wanted to see, could I produce the same level of what you're able to produce at a fraction of the cost? I think mine was roughly €50, give or take. I think yours is considerably more than that.
Probably around triple that price.
Somewhere in that region, yeah.
Yeah.
And mine doesn't come with any software. It doesn't have drivers. It doesn't do anything. It's just a little metal card that I plug a USB and a HDMI into. And it has a few hiccups here and there, but I have been using it to stream recently, and it works. It does the thing admirably. But yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing some of my results and comparing them with yours.
So some of the advantages you get, I suppose, of going with a name brand, just, I don't want to spend too long on this, but so obviously your drivers, your software all comes with it. It also included a full video editing software as well. Oh,
is it like Elgato, or what is it?
It's AverMedia. So
AverMedia,
yeah. Which, to be fair, AverMedia are a huge media technology company, as in they do supply TV studio level stuff as well, and movie studio level stuff. But they have a gaming division. So my card, once I plugged it in, was okay, it detected that I needed firmware updates and that I needed new drivers, and I did all that, and it was all very quick and painless and all done in a single app. And then I was given a a serial key to download a full editing suite as well to edit videos.
Wow. I don't know what else to say to that.
You know, that's just
wow. No, that's pretty awesome. Is it like as fully functioning as, you know, the ones that you would have used in your college work and stuff?
Yeah, well,
like,
I
you know
suppose,
software better than I do.
Yeah, so the main one that everybody knows is Adobe Premiere Pro, and that's what most YouTube people use and most gamers and stuff, because you can get a subscription to it. It's relatively cheap. You know, it's easy to use. There's a ton of tutorials online for it because everyone uses it. The one they gave me is not that. It's not a name brand like that. It is another company that I've never heard of, but it does all the same stuff. It does everything you need to do to make YouTube videos and to make content for the gaming space.
Interesting. I must have to look into that. So that's the thing now that I'm up against when I'm recording these videos and stuff. It's like, I don't know how to edit video, and it's a lot more complex than I thought it would be.
Yes, it can be. It can be simple and it can be complex, and that depends on what you want to do. I mean, you can edit a video on your mobile phone nowadays, but it's very basic. You know, it's very like But look, that's for future us to figure out. But either way, it's kind of a case of I'm interested to see the value prospect versus the paying a little bit more money and what you get. Like you said yourself, you know, because I'm after getting extra software, and I'm after getting, like, it came with software for streaming and then separate software for recording and all this kind of stuff to kind of do what's the word I'm looking for? There's more functions when those softwares are divided separately. They kind of give you more features in each separate software rather than combining them into one package, you know? Yeah. So stuff like that. Sure. It'll be interesting to see anyway.
For sure. And then here I am struggling with my €50 Chinese knockoff option, which, let's be honest, if you're buying that, you're going to be frugal and probably get the cheap free software anyway, but that's neither here nor there. I played a metric crapload of video games over this Christmas break. I had a very interesting scenario where I went home for a number of days, spent it with my family, lovely time, but because I don't live where my family lives, I had to travel for it, which is the first time I've traveled in months. And when I went home, our country announced that we are going back into lockdown, and I would need to get my ass back home to where I actually live by the 29th of December, which in a way was a blessing because, you know, we've all spent too much time with each other at that point anyway. But I made my way home, and my partner made her way to her place for Christmas, but unfortunately, due to a family event, wasn't able to travel back until New Year's Eve. So I had about 4 or 5 days at home with nothing but me and the TV.
Yeah.
And I played a lot of video games because I couldn't even visit friends. I couldn't do anything, you know. Like,
of course.
Literally everybody I know was like, you know, I'm not going to even contact them and put them in a position where they say, no, we can't meet up because of COVID. You know, I was like, I'm just going to do the responsible thing and sit in and play some video games. And Shane, let me tell you, I played some video games.
What did you play?
First of all, Cyberpunk. Finished that.
Okay.
Finally finished that. Had to really drive forward and just go, right, I'm just going to finish all the side quests on my list here and any ones that might pop up, and then going to wrap up the main story. In doing so, I said I wouldn't pick up any new side quests or whatever. I'm just going to finish up what's there and just get a grip of what this was, because like I've said before, and I may or may not do something on this, but bugs aside, because I didn't see too many bugs, if I'm honest, on the Series X.
Yeah.
The game never really grabbed me in any significant way.
Right.
It had moments of almost brilliance, which were kind of followed up by just, I think, archaic game design. The city would be dripping with personality, but the people look like mannequins.
Yeah.
The certain mission would be super engrossing and enthralling, and then you realize that the next mission is just a fetch quest, and it's just like, there's sparks of brilliance in there that just get let down by the mundane around it. And I think the more I hear people talking about it, the less we're talking about bugs, the more we're talking about the game. And it does seem like people are getting more enjoyment out of it now that they're playing it. But honestly, I don't know. I don't know. There's something there. I don't see myself going back to Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
I might go back when the DLC comes out, because surely they'll have to give us some kind of free content to make up for this dumpster fire.
Oh, of course.
But I'll check it out, but I'm not excited to play it. And the worst thing was, I was starting to enjoy playing the goddamn game right when it was coming to the end.
Yeah.
Because you do not level up very quickly in that game.
Right.
And there's you have to level up your person to be able to buy skills. You have to get money to then buy augments. You then have to skill level those augments. You then have, mods and augments for your weapons. You've got the same for your clothing, and they all tie into each other. And then you're buying skill tree stuff. And it's by the time you're at the end of the game, you're a super powerful cyberpunk.
Yeah.
For lack of a better word. But for the 70 hours that got you there, you're not.
Yeah.
And that was a pity. I think the DLC will be a lot more fun to play.
Hopefully they'll have fixed everything and made it a bit more fun by the time. I'm still looking forward to giving it a try.
Yeah.
But I don't have any high expectations at all.
I think that's the way to go into it, and I think it is definitely a case of give it 6 months and just get the best version you possibly can.
Yeah.
Try to judge it on its own merit, hopefully at a deep discount by that point. Speaking of games that seem to get more enjoyable the further to the end you get, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, played a lot of that.
Yeah.
For better or for worse, as I mentioned earlier. That game, dude, I didn't finish Odyssey.
Yes.
Because I thought it was kind of boring. People love that game, and I can see why.
Yeah.
But you were on islands all the time on that game, and yes, the map was huge, but it was mostly water.
Yeah.
It was like a Wind Waker situation. So you found yourself getting on your boat all the time and getting off the boat all the time. And I know people love Black Flag, and that's why there's always a boat in Assassin's Creed now. But I, for one, found Black Flag, as great a game as it was, really goddamn annoying for people like me who are I want to get all of the collectible crap in this area.
Yeah.
If I want to do that, there might be 2 things I have to grab on this island, and then there'll be 1 thing on the next island, and then there'll be 5 things on the island after that, and then so on and so forth. So you're constantly hopping on and off of your goddamn boat, and that in itself takes ages, and it just became this monotonous activity. That's why I fell off Odyssey, because it kind of reminded me of that. I'm constantly having to do this. Valhalla, at the very least, has you on a mostly landlocked Britain.
Yes.
Which is nice. I like the fact that I can run everywhere. That's great. I like the fact I can ride everywhere. That is great. And then when I want to get on the boat, which I rarely do, I go to the river and I plunder and I do whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. The thing is, it's another Assassin's Creed game. I don't like Eivor as much as I liked Bayek from the Egyptian one.
Yeah.
That was for whatever reason, I really liked that character. And I liked the setting of Egypt. I thought it was really interesting. Maybe it's because I'm from this part of the world, but not finding old England to be that interesting. Once you've seen one green field, you've kind of seen them all.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does suffer from that a bit. Now, some of the areas, there is notable areas that are really good, and there's actually you go to multiple continents, which is surprising.
That's pretty cool.
At one point, you end up. I don't want to spoil it, but at one point you end up in Vinland, which is not Finland, which I thought it was until I googled it. It's a term that the adventurers used for Canada.
Yeah, actually, I actually strangely knew that.
Yeah, but I won't ruin anything about any of that. But it's just when you think about it, you're like, what? How the hell am I here? It's the mind boggles where you end up at times, and that's what's keeping me. And it is just when I'm ready to get rid of it, something interesting happens. I'm like, okay, I kind of want to see what this is about. I'm still doing the whole Assassin's Creed check everything off of the island thing, and as such, I can spend a full day playing it without seeing a cutscene.
Yeah.
And that's killing me slowly, but for whatever reason, I think it's because it's the first next-gen game I bought, I refuse to let it beat me. So now I'm locked in. And when the Ireland DLC comes, I know I'm going to play that.
Of course.
So I don't want to be at a position where when that DLC comes out, I'm like looking at the map and going, I should really finish the map before I get to that, and then never do.
Yeah.
So I'll report back in like a year's time when I'm finished.
I think when it comes to Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I will play it, and I don't get wrapped up in the whole collectathon thing. So I will just play it, and I'll mainline it, and I'll probably have a decent time with it.
You know why you might get tied up in it though? Is in Odyssey and Origins, you kind of had this new loot system.
Yes.
Where you picked up all these various bows and swords, and you're constantly replacing them.
Yes.
Not the case in Valhalla. You have there's a lot of weapons and a lot of gear, but they're permanent. So you can switch between this armor set and that armor set, but you're not picking up like the same piece of armor with incremental upgrades as you go along. You are taking ownership of upgrading your actual armor and weapons. And finding the materials to do that is a pain in the ass if you're not picking up everything along the way on the map.
Yeah.
Because like Cyberpunk, there's 101 things that tie into your progression, and the pickups are 95% of it. So that's what kind of got me, because I was thinking the same. I was thinking, nope, this is going to be the one where I just ignore all that crap. Like, nah, it got me. But yeah, it's a good game. It's not better than Origins, but it's not worse than Origins in my mind. Other games I've been playing is Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yes.
I'm about 10 or so hours into that game, and dude, let me tell you, that game is F-bomb amazing. I saved you a bleep. I didn't know that this was like a love letter to video games. Like,
me neither.
I don't know how much you've heard about it. It's like they can see it's just a Yakuza game in turn-based Dragon Quest style,
yes,
which in itself is a love letter to RPGs. But there's so like every mission has something to do with video games or something funny at the very least, and the main character is amazing. Highly recommend everybody, no matter what your penchant is for RPGs, play this game. Seriously, play this game. I played a mission last night with a heavy Pokemon reference in it, and it was just hitting you over the head with Pokemon references to the point where I think that the guys who make Yakuza are probably in line to be sued by the Pokemon team. It's pretty full on. But yeah, like it's great. There's not a moment in that game I'm not enjoying, so yeah, please do check it out. Finally, I did play some indies over the Christmas break to the point where I'm actually doing a feature on them in the website casualgamecritic.com. Please do check it out. My feature is around Hades. Specifically after reading James's review of Hades over at casualgamecritic.com, I got a kind of a graw to say, I'm going to play the crap out of that. That seems to be the one game no critic can argue about. Like, it seems as if every other video game, like The Last of Us and Ghost of Tsushima or whatever, they were like 10 out of 10 in certain lights, but then something held them back.
Yeah.
It seems as if Hades did not have that issue at all. Nobody had a bad word to say about it.
Yeah.
You know? So I want to play it. I really want to play it. However, I've never played a Supergiant game. The guys who make the, I guess, game Hades.
Yes.
And they've been like industry setting devs their entire career. Like Bastion was their first notable game, and that was like the main indie game for years. You know?
Yes.
So I played Bastion on the Switch over Christmas break, and wow, that really holds up. It's a phenomenal indie game. Didn't think it would. I thought it'd be crap. I thought it'd be like pulling teeth. No, got through it, and it was sweet. It was actually sweet. And I can see a lot of the DNA of what I understand Hades to be in that. So my feature is a road to Hades, where I'm looking at all of the Supergiant games. Bastion in particular, I can see a lot of the combat from Hades in.
Yeah.
Next up is going to be Transistor. And I can see from the outside, I've played a little bit of it so far, but not that much. But I can see the kind of battle strategy is probably lifted and put into Hades. It's like looking at a new GTA game and looking at Rockstar's lineage and going, oh yeah, the driving there, that's Midnight Club, and oh yeah, the shooting, that's Max Payne.
Yeah.
And it's like, I can see that happening here with Hades, and it's really interesting. But do follow us over at the site casualgamecritic.com if you want to see more about that. Bastion is up there at the moment. Look out for Transistor pretty soon. Finally, feel like I've been talking to you about what I've been playing for years now, but finally, returned to streaming this month. Went, and rather than doing what I was doing before with 3-day streams, I'm just going to do 1 day, and as I said before, spend the other 2 days working on other projects. But came back on Wednesday nights at twitch.tv CGC_Phil, streaming Fallout 4 of all things.
Yeah.
And that's because Fallout 4 has a mod that now runs it at 60 FPS in 4K.
Nice.
On Xbox Series S.
Nice.
Or X.
Nice.
It is.
Doesn't make the game any better, though.
I'm actually really enjoying it now.
Yeah.
I fell off that game really, really quickly in the beginning, and I might do again, but it seems like it actually, for some reason, the frame rate makes all the difference.
Yeah.
It doesn't chug anymore.
Right, yeah.
And I think, like, it's not going to make the writing any better. It's not going to make the missions any better. But I think my overall enjoyment is that bit better, so it might carry me through, But as I'm streaming it, doing it fully chat-driven, as I'm wont to do, asked the chat what we were going to make as a character. Had a good few suggestions. Michael D. Higgins, our president, was one. We built a character on session, and we landed on Steve Buscemi. So Steve Buscemi is now making his triumphant debut as the Wastelander, or the Wanderer in the Wasteland.
Nice.
And yeah, catch us over on twitch.tv/CGC_Phil every Wednesday if you want to check out that. Come over, hang out, and let me know what we should be doing next. And I have been talking forever.
Yes.
So, yes, you have.
It's not your fault. We had a lot to catch up on. It was a long Christmas.
It was a long Christmas. It was that's like 3 weeks of gaming right there, dude. But you've just spent an awful lot of time on one game, and I've spent like a little bit of time on a load of games, as is usually the case.
Yes, that's usually what happens, yeah.
Well, it's nice that one of us is dedicated. With that, will we put this one to bed, give people their time back, and do the question of the week?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, let's go.
Question of the week.
So, this week's question of the week comes from our Facebook community. That's the Casual Game community over at Facebook. And it comes from your friend and mine, Shane, Brendan O'Sullivan.
Yes.
Brendan has a nice nickname that we probably shouldn't use.
No, we won't. We'll call him by his... We won't use his nickname. We will call him by his name.
It has connotations.
Yes, we'll stick to Brendan.
Yeah, exactly. Brendan comes to us with a lovely question, and it is time appropriate. Brendan asks us, with another lockdown happening, what feel-good games would you recommend to people to help keep the spirits up for the next month or two? That's a great question.
It is a great question. I'm going to let you go first because I have a touch of a different answer rather than listing out some games.
Oh, okay. Weird. So, well, there's a couple of easy answers, I think. One of the ones that got me through the early days of COVID, and I think I got the world through the early days of COVID, is Animal Crossing. Yeah. If you can bear the world of Animal Crossing, which for the most part I can't, but I gave it a pass this time around. Yeah, it's just something to check in on every day. It's nice and chill. It's happy in that world. You can at least be relaxed by it once a day. It's nice in that way. Outside of that, I think anything that has RPG mechanics, the likes of even your Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if you just have, you don't know how many weeks. You could have like 8 weeks where you're not in work.
Yeah.
And you're going to be gaming. Like, if you don't already own a load of games that probably need your attention, which, let's be honest, who doesn't? You're probably wanting to buy a new game. And why buy like several new games? Why not just buy one new game that you know will hold you down for hours and hours and hours? That's never bad.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed is a good suggestion in that way. But more to the RPG end of things, I'd say huge recommendation to Yakuza Like a Dragon if you have access to a console or PC that'll play it. And to Persona 5. Persona 5 is the game, the RPG that does not end and is beautiful from start to finish. So they're my 3 or 4 biggest suggestions for anyone that wants to get into something a bit meaty that will carry them through until, you know, this whole eldritch horror is behind us.
So for myself, I kind of have a twofold answer. First of all, I was going to say, what makes a game that makes you feel good is relative to you. It's very person specific. So what if I'm the kind of person that playing matches and winning matches in Call of Duty makes me feel really good? Then play your Call of Duty. You know what I mean? Like, you need to play the thing that you know is going to make you feel good, because like, I was going to suggest huge RPGs as well. I think that's a great solution because they're time consuming. Not everybody likes playing huge RPGs. Some people just like to play FIFA. Yeah. And that's what will make them feel good. But I do think any game that you can get lost in for a long period of time that can really, really transport you out of reality is the go-to game. Like your Witchers, your Skyrims, your, you know, these kind of games that can really suck you into a world that makes you forget about, as you say, the eldritch horror that's happening outside the window.
Honest to God. Like, yeah, it really comes down to that, doesn't it? It's just, well, what makes you happy in games is one variable. And then I guess another variable is, what do you already own?
Yes, exactly.
Like, have you just been putting something off because now you have time? Like, this is something that, like, this is why CGC happened. Now you have time. This is the biggest message I can give to anybody who is struggling with the idea of time off. Now you have time. If there's anything in the world that you've been putting off, whether it's gaming related, whether it's family related, whether it's like, I don't know, fixing that leaky faucet in the ensuite bathroom that has been like that for 4 years. Now you have time, you know? Do anything that makes you happy, you know, or anything that's been put off or whatever. Now is the time to do so. And especially in video games, I know for a fact if I wasn't working, Persona 5 would be kicked up and down my,
it's one of those things
sitting room,
like,
but I'll never have time for that myself.
Like you say about time. So now is the time. So if you always looked at that particular game and went, I only have X amount of gaming hours a week, I'm not going to devote it to a game that I'm not sure if I'm going to like or get invested in. Now is the time to give that a chance. Give it a try. Play your couple of hours of it. And if you don't like it, cut your losses and move on to the next thing. But you might find that you love it. Like a great example I can give you is, you know from listening to us, mine and Phil's games are different. Phil likes to try a lot of games, dabble in a lot of things, and I like to get glued into one game entirely. Now is a good time to experiment with both of those. Now that I'm off work, it's probably a good time for me to try a lot of games because now I have the time. And it's probably, if Phil was off work, it would be a good time for him to devote to one singular game that he could really get sucked into. So there's no right or wrong answer here, you know? Like, everybody's preferences are different, but there's no harm in experimenting outside your comfort zone.
That's funny when you think about it. Like, the reason I try everything is because I'm busy. And then the reason you play one thing is because you're busy. And if we weren't busy, we would, like, do the opposite. That's really bizarre.
I think I like the comfort of like coming back to the same game every evening or every weekend, I think, until it's finished, you know? I know that, like, when I'm in work, I can go, on Saturday now when I'm off or whatever, I'm going to get to finish that next mission in that game that I'm playing.
Yeah. I don't think about games in that way, which is weird. I kind of like, I'm all about them when I'm playing them, but I rarely think about the game I'm playing.
No, I don't. I'm the opposite. It's always on my mind.
Well, there you go. We've got our Dark Souls lore nut, unsurprisingly, in that way.
It really has.
But with that, I think we've been talking long enough. It's been nice to catch up, though. Like, this is the catch-up podcast. This is the podcast from like 3 weeks of not speaking to not only Shane, but to the world. Hey, guys. Hope you had a good Christmas, a good Hanukkah, a good whatever it is that you celebrate. Hope you had a good one. And a very prosperous 2021, hopefully, is in front of us all.
Of course we will.
Shane, will be taken on home? Oh, of course we will. And about damn time too, says you. With that, it's time to wrap it on up. So thanks as always for listening, reading, and supporting us each week. You do not have any idea how much it means to us. However, could I ask one small favor of you? Would you please subscribe to the podcast? would you please follow the podcast? Would you please review the podcast on your podcatcher of choice if you have the option to do so? It will help us be seen and it will make the show get better. And we want to hear from you. If you want to stay up to all things CGC, you can do so in a number of ways. You can do so on all of our socials, which is the Casual Game Community over at Facebook, at CG Critic on Insta and on Instagram, Twitter and on Instagram. It's been a while. And anywhere else, it's going to be in our descriptions down below. With that, I have been Phil Keogh on this, the first of the recordings of 2021, and I have been joined by
Shane Bowe.
Awesome to have you again, dude. And here we are looking into another year of it, huh?
Yes, I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to see what happens. What news stories we're going to get to talk about. I can't wait to see what new gaming stuff we're going to get to dissect.
Oh, Jesus. Here we go. Right. Say goodbye, dude. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
All the best.
Bye.
Take care, be safe, and most of all, stay casual.